Anger feels powerful. In the moment, it feels like control and strength. But what anger does is it destroys your life quietly, piece by piece. Matteo grew up in a working class neighborhood in southern Italy. His father worked in the construction and his mother cleaned offices at night. Their home was small, loud, and always busy. From a young age, Matteo learned two things: work hard and don't complain. Emotions were never discussed. Frustration was swallowed. Anger was known. When Mateo was upset, nobody asked why. They told him to toughen up. So, he did. By the time he was in his 20s, Mateo had become known as someone reliable, efficient, and physically strong. He got a job in warehouse logistics. Long shifts, heavy lifting, tight deadlines. It was hard work, but he was good at it. And for a while, that felt like enough. But Matteo had one major flaw. He had a short temper. Not explosive rage, but constant irritation. Small delays felt personal, questions felt like challenges. When co-workers worked slower than him, he snapped. When management changed plans, he argued. At first, people brushed it off. That's just how Matteo is. But over time, the tension followed him everywhere. Break room conversations stopped when he entered. New employees avoided working near him. Friends slowly drifted away. And Matteo actually noticed it. But instead of reflecting, he justified it. If people did their jobs properly, I wouldn't get angry. If things were organized, I wouldn't have to shout. If they listened, I wouldn't lose my temper. In his mind, anger wasn't the problem. Incompetence was. But anger is expensive. Mateo's relationships suffered. Romantic relationships rarely lasted more than a few months, since arguments escalated quickly and apologies felt humiliating. Friendships became shallow as well. At work, he remained employed because he was productive, but promotions passed by him. You could rely on Mateo to move heavy boxes, but not to lead people. And slowly, that reality started to sting. He saw younger colleagues advance. People he had trained became supervisors. And every time he told himself, they are just lucky. But deep down, he felt something heavier. Stagnation. One afternoon during a high-pressure shipment, a junior worker made a small error in labeling. Nothing serious, easily fixable. But Mateo exploded. He shouted, swore, and humiliated the young man in front of the entire shift. The warehouse fell silent. Later that day, Mateo was called in the office. His supervisors didn't yell or threaten him. He just said, "We don't doubt your ability, we doubt your control." Then he added, "If nothing changes, this will be the ceiling of your career." That sentence stayed, not because it was harsh, but because it was honest, the reality. That night, Mateo barely slept. For the first time, he questioned himself and not his co-workers. He realized something uncomfortable. His anger had become his identity. He didn't know how to exist without it. Being intense felt like a strength, and being calm felt like a weakness. But the consequences were becoming impossible to ignore. So, reluctantly, Mateo enrolled in an anger management workshop offered through his company's healthcare program. He didn't tell anyone since he didn't feel proud about it. He felt ashamed. The first sessions were uncomfortable. Sitting in a circle, talking about emotions and listening to strangers describe their struggles. Mateo felt out of place, but slowly, the patterns emerged. Different lives, different backgrounds, but the same problem. Impulse, reaction, regret. He began learning simple techniques: pause, breathe, and delay response. It sounded ridiculous, but he practiced and failed repeatedly. But he kept showing up. At work, he started experimenting. When frustration rose, he stayed silent. When mistakes happened, he counted to 10. When anger surged, he walked away. Progress was uneven. Some days he succeeded, some days he failed. But over a month, something changed. People noticed, conversations returned, and trust started to rebuild. Supervisors began assigning him coordination tasks, not because he was stronger, but because he was calmer. 2 years later, Mateo became a shift supervisor. He was no longer feared, he was trusted. And for the first time, Mateo understood. Not force is the strength, control is. Most people don't struggle with anger the way Mateo did, but many struggle with emotional reactions, be it impatience, defensiveness, resentment, or ego, and we justify them because change is uncomfortable. But emotional maturity is the foundation of every stable life. The moral of this story is simple. Self control is not a weakness, it is the highest form of strength, and it can be learned at any age.